From Total Recall lacking the creativity of the original, to the Mummy reboot leaving fans disappointed for having no plot, let's take a look at film remakes that were worse than the original. Right off the bat, it's the 2013 remake of Carrie. Now, 1976's Carrie is a timeless horror movie. Sure, it had its flaws, and fans at first didn't get the appeal of it. Some thought it was too sexualized, while others complained about how it didn't stay true to the novel written by Stephen King. Still, you simply cannot deny that over the years, it has become a cult classic. But then came the 2013 remake, which disappointed everyone. The problem with the remake was that it brought absolutely nothing new to the table. The plot was the same, as were the lines and even the characters. Nothing was done to set it apart from the original. They did manage to change the tone of the movie a little, but it didn't make much of a difference. Even though Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore gave it their all as Carrie and Margaret, they couldn't save the movie. Fans complained about how the remake didn't capture the thrill of Stephen's original tale. The movie played like a generic, overlit teen drama that barely even tried to be a horror movie. Then the fact that Carrie didn't kill any of the sympathetic characters robbed the story of its revenge. So it doesn't take a genius to guess why Carrie completely bombed at the box office. Speaking of box office failures, who doesn't remember how the Fantastic Four remake crashed and burned? Honestly speaking, people had really high hopes for this one. But to say that the 2015 remake was plain awful would be the understatement of the century. Of course, it's not like the original ones were any better. Still, they at least tried to have a little fun and follow the plot. The 2015 remake tried to distance itself from the super cheesy previous Fantastic Four movies and failed miserably. Honestly, fans just couldn't believe what they were watching. I mean, from the start till the end, the movie was dark. And I don't mean that in the sense of the plot, but as in, was there no lighting crew present on set, or did they all go on strike at the same time? Plus, the plot was absolutely boring, and there wasn't even any action to make up for it. All the characters in the movie were horribly underdeveloped, especially Susan, and they literally had no emotional connection or chemistry with each other. I mean, how do you even manage to make a cast of some of the most talented young actors, including Michael B. Jordan, look so boring? There was just nothing fun or unique about this movie. I mean, it was so bad that it won the Razzie Award for Worst Picture. Honestly, they should have just left the franchise for dead, but this isn't the only franchise movie that was botched on this list. The Ghostbusters movie series faced the same fate. This remake faced an uphill battle before it even hit theaters. The drama started when it was announced that the film would feature an all-female cast. Ghostbusters then became a part of a mountain of unfair controversy from the toxic corners of the world. Still, the movie managed to create quite a buzz before its release. The cast was fantastic and included Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, and Chris Hemsworth. Plus, the fans were pretty excited to see the remake. Unfortunately, the movie failed to meet everyone's expectations. The biggest issue with it was that all the actors felt like they were acting something straight out of a Saturday Night Live skit. Not only that, but it felt like a typical studio movie featuring a third act with nothing but sloppy CGI fights. There was just nothing to draw the audience in. And while the filmmakers did try to tell a new story, the backlash had pretty much doomed the movie from the start. But this next remake is so bad that it makes you feel like you're watching a parody. I'm talking about the 2018 remake of Robin Hood. We've seen a lot of Robin Hood remakes over the years, right? However, this one beats them all. That is, by being the absolute worst. The movie starred Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx, and even though both actors are quite phenomenal, they just didn't shine in this movie. The only connection the film had with the traditional versions was the use of familiar names. Not only that, but the costume designs were hilarious. Don't even get me started on how bad the dialogue was. The plot was supposed to be about medieval times, but instead the movie looked like it was about superheroes. Even the action sequences were filmed like it was an over-the-top modern war movie. The remake completely lacked everything you expect emotionally from a Robin Hood story. There was no fun, no romance, and definitely no virtue. Fans couldn't help but to declare it the worst movie of 2018. All in all, every aspect of this movie was a complete disaster. If only the filmmakers had followed the template of the original movie, maybe it wouldn't be a part of this video today. At the end of the day, this remake just became an unintentional parody. Another film that should have definitely been left untouched is the 2012 remake of Total Recall. Back in 1990, fans found this sci-fi thriller an epic watch. Sure, it had weak dialogues, but Arnold Schwarzenegger managed to capture the attention of the people. On the other hand, its 2012 remake, completely terrible. Let me tell you guys where the remake went completely wrong. First of all, it wasn't even set on Mars like the original was. Instead, it took place in a dystopian future Earth, which a lot of fans found hard to relate to. Colin Farrell did well enough as the lead, but let's be honest, he was a bad casting choice. The rest of the cast was entirely forgettable. I mean, the producers really spent a lot of money trying to outdo the original, but the script was just a huge disappointment. I'll admit that all the long action sequences were fun to watch, but at one point, it started to feel like I was watching a video game. It just looked like the filmmakers' true goal was to ride on nostalgia and make some quick money. If they'd released it with some other title, I'm pretty sure people would have hated it less. That said, I have saved the best for last for you guys. Or in this case, the worst one on this not so nice list. Let's wrap this video up by talking about The Mummy. This remake was supposed to launch a brand new cinematic universe, the Dark Universe for Universal Studios. I know, spooky, right? But after people watched the film, they realized that the studio had focused more on marketing than coming up with a good script. The movie didn't have the horror of 1932's Boris Karloff version or the charm of Brendan Fraser's version. It did have Tom Cruise as the lead in his typical running hero mode, and this was pretty much the only thing that saved it from being a full-blown disaster on release. But apart from that, it failed on every level. In fact, fans accused the movie of being sexist as well as racist. The characters were so underdeveloped that nobody knew anything about them, other than what their goal was. It didn't take long for the critics to label it as a very rushed and poorly made reboot. Throughout the movie, the only thing people could wonder was, is this an attempt at horror or sci-fi, or is it a thriller? Who knows? You won't find any critics praising this movie, even if they haven't seen the previous versions of it. It's that bad. So it's safe to say that this was the worst movie of Tom's career. Well, there you have it. Those were film remakes that were worse than the original.